I have had a lot of people sending me direct messages about me and my comments about Anthony Albanese during the week. So Anthony Albanese last weekend pulled off auction his investment property in Dulwich Hill, obviously because he didn't have buyers on the Saturday, right? And I've got to tell you that this week he's gone off with his partner and exchanged on a property on the Central Coast for 4.3, a nice beachside property, luxurious property. Of course, at Copacabana, 4.3 is going to get you something special. And I have no issue. That's a private matter. The guy's on $540,000 a year. And let me tell you, even when he no longer will be Prime Minister, he is going to be on a reoccurring revenue of over 300,000. I think 330 is the sort of pension that you get once you've been the Prime Minister. So life's going to be pretty good. He's going to be able to afford the mortgages of that property, whether he's Prime Minister or not. And I have zero issue with people who make money on how they spend their money. That's not illegal at all. He can buy whatever he wants. He can buy a Maserati. He can go buy himself an investment property. He can go get himself a studio unit. He can go get himself a mansion. He can go wherever he wants. But I've got to tell you, it's dumb. It's dumb. In a week where for the first time on market polls, if there was an election, the coalition would win. Why would you get your team negatively impacted by you deciding to go off and buy that kind of property in the middle of a housing crisis, in the middle of what will be an election that will be won or lost in housing? Why would you do that to your team? Why would you do it to the whole Labor government? They would be fuming. They would be fuming. So yes, it is a private matter. And for those there that want to probably throw a punch in my nose because they're thinking that this is some political speech, a Liberal guy being anti-Labor, let me be very clear. I have voted for Labor more than I've voted for Liberal. I'll say that again. I have voted for Labor more than I have voted for Liberal. I have been a swinging voter. But I can tell you, and by the way, my business, owned a real estate company, sold Albo's house decades ago, his own home. Now I've got to tell you, he can go off and buy anything. But what is the IQ of the advisors inside that Labor government? Didn't someone sit there and think, hey, it ain't a good look if we want to win this election? You know, we've positioned you as being the boy from the Housing Commission in Marrickville. I don't think it's a good look if you're getting yourself a luxury property by the waterside for $4.3 million when we have Australia having lost their hope of buying just an average property. A young buyer has got their dreams dashed to buy a property even less than $1 million, and he goes buys a property for 4.3. There's one reason why Labor shouldn't win the next election, and that is they're out of touch. And they're out of touch because not one person would have sat there and said, what are you doing? Now's not the time to do it. Now's not the time to do it. And they've done it, and they got Buckleys. They got zero chance of winning the next election now. Big auction volumes around the country, all over, and I've been going around the country for the last 2 weeks with conferences, which is what I do Monday to Friday, training, coaching, education. In fact, it was a very big 2 weeks. I close my 200th conference for this calendar year. So at that rate, we'll probably finish the year at 220 events, which is the highest I've had since COVID. Actually, 220 is roughly the number that was taking place prior to COVID. So between 215 and 220, they were roughly the numbers. And as I've been going around the country and I've been talking to people about the markets, there's also now confirmation that things are actually slowing up in various price points, even in our hottest markets, which has been Perth and Brisbane. They're now beginning to see a change in market, all spurred by the oversupply of listings that have come onto the market. And that's all happened because the hopes of an interest rate cut were dashed a few months ago when the Reserve Bank basically said it's not happening anytime soon. Our friend Sandra Bullock, well, I call her Sandra Bullock, and it's been confirmed again this week with employment numbers coming out the other day. Lots of jobs have been added, and that means it is highly unlikely, close to impossible, that we're getting a rate cut anytime soon. That news is what's actually spurred a lot of people to put their properties on the market, because they thought there would be a rate cut and there'd be a surge of buyers and they'd get their price, but that's not look like it's happening. Today's results, my friends, I did 10 auctions, including properties that were sold prior in total. The final result is 5 out of 10. It's getting hard. It's getting hard, and it's getting hard because buyers are simply saying, if you don't take my offer, I now have choices. I had less choices before, and now I have choices. And let me tell you, they will continue to have choices with all the listings that are on the market. Last week, I touched on the subject of the cowboyness I'm seeing in the buyer's agent segment. Many years ago, buyer's agents were a rarity. There were hardly any buyer's agents. Then, due to this big appetite for people thinking they're going to make a lot of money, there's various courses that are run. There's a bit of a perception out there that if you're a buyer's agent, you'll make $1 million. You won't make $1 million. The buyer's agents that I know that are even good buyer's agents that are in their first half of their life would be lucky to make $150,000. And they're reasonable buyer agents. I mean, think about it. We've got people that are cleaning McDonald's one week and the next week they're out there advising people on what properties to buy. And I also spoke about some of the behavior of the interaction and the relationship that real estate agents are having with buyer's agents. Example, giving them their complete open home lists and saying, there you go, take them, it's all yours. If you sell them something, flick me back 20%. And if they've ticked the right box, when you're at an open home, if a buyer ticks the box and accepts that their details might be handed to a third party, example, a mortgage broker, a buyer's agent, or anyone else, look, it's probably not illegal if they've actually ticked it, but it needs to be explained. But I'm going to tell you, I don't even think it's being done properly. I just think there are real estate agents that are handing over their open home register and saying, ring these buyers. And I've got a problem with that. I've got a problem with it because that vendor has invested in vendor paid advertising to generate buyers for that property, not for the real estate agent to flick them off to a buyer's agent to clip 20% or whatever they cut. Team, there won't be an interest rate cut due to those employment numbers during the week. There won't be an interest rate cut this side of Christmas. There will be an interest rate cut at some time in the future. The sooner it happens in 2025, the better it is. Signing off.